Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and today we are going to compare the Fitbit Versa with the Apple Watch 3. Now, I am doing this comparison because this is a true battle that I'm kind of going through right now. I love both devices. I have liked Fitbit for a long time. I feel like they are kind of going through this transitional time right now where they're really trying to figure out what people want out of their devices, and they're getting there. They really are. But there are things that I really like about the Fitbit Versa, and there are things that I really like about the Apple Watch, and that's why I'm doing this video, because I wanted to kind of discuss those things, and hopefully, if there are some of you out there that are trying to decide between one or the other, that maybe this video will help you out. So I purchased the Fitbit Versa right when it released. I've spent probably a good 2 weeks at least with it, and have gone back and forth between wearing my Apple Watch and this, kind of depending on what the scenario is. I was at a conference last week and I had a lot of meetings and a lot of things on my agenda, so I switched to the Apple Watch just because the calendar on that is a bit better. Although still a little confusing and challenging to use, it's better than what's on the Versa. So it really does depend on what you're wanting to get out of your watch. So that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. So the Fitbit Versa obviously is cheaper than the Apple Watch. Even if you go with the Apple Watch 3 that doesn't have LTE, and this one does have LTE, the watch is significantly cheaper. But it does some things better than the Apple Watch. Mostly the fitness aspect of this watch, the Fitbit Versa, is better as far as the sensors and the data that you actually get, the consistency of those sensors. Everything seems to just perform better on the Fitbit. Now it should, because the Fitbit is a Fitbit device, and that's kind of the sole purpose of it. Although the Fitbit Versa is meant to be something that you could probably wear 24/7. Now it has pretty good battery life, considering that the sensor is running 24/7. Even when you're asleep, it doesn't stop tracking for a little while and then start tracking again. Like it's the heart rate monitor is consistently tracking you throughout the day and the night, which provides it with better data, of course. It doesn't have things like GPS like the Apple Watch does, but it also does a pretty good job of like tracking when you maybe go on a run or a walk or a bike ride or something like that. It does a pretty good job of keeping track of those things, even though it does require your phone for GPS. So if you want that really consistent tracking, you're going to need to have your phone with you. But I mean, the alternative is to get an Apple Watch that is much more expensive there. So, of course, the Apple Watch does a better job with the tracking because it has GPS built in. And then if you have the LTE version, it has the benefit of being able to pull from your location data and everything as well. So your location is much more exact. And so if it's very important to you to have that route that you took, maybe you're using an app like the Strava app or something like that, or Runkeeper, and you're wanting to keep all of your runs and everything and the actual location information there, you're going to need something a little bit more than this if you don't want to carry a phone with you. If you carry a phone with you, it's going to be perfectly fine. So let's talk a little bit about the features of the Versa, and then we'll jump over to the Apple Watch, the things that I like. So I like the minimalistic display. I love how thin and kind of, this is a much smaller device than the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch is a bit thicker. It sticks up a bit more. I'm constantly bumping it on things. The Versa is more just slim and almost not even noticeable. The watch strap is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is replaceable if I wanted to replace it with something else. I just haven't done that yet. I have taken it off. It does come pre-installed with the small strap, which was a little too small for my wrists. So I put the large one on, and the large one has a ton of room. So the difference between the small strap and the large strap is huge. So that was kind of nice that it came with that. I like being able to just kind of tap on the screen and go between my heart rate, my steps, and calories burned. Very nice. Of course, I can just swipe and get through, the different apps. We have the AOL Instant Messenger looking exercise app, which I really like. I like how they have built these out. So whether I'm running, biking, or swimming, treadmill, weights, I can basically, or interval timer, which is great. Of course, there are, interval timers you can get for the Apple Watch, but I just love the fact that this is all built in and just works really well. So you can even go in and customize these here and kind of set them up just for better performance. I like these. Of course, there are apps. There's the fitness app in the Apple Watch that you can do this on, but I feel like when I have used the Fitbit Versa, and I haven't used it for all of these, basically just for running and treadmill and weights, it does a better job of giving me the data that I was kind of expecting. The Apple Watch, of course, does that, but the neat thing about the Versa is it doesn't seem to really kill the battery life like it does on the Apple Watch. Now, granted, that might be because the Versa doesn't have GPS, it doesn't have some of those sensors that the Apple Watch has, but I don't necessarily think that stuff matters. Of course, I don't need GPS if I'm at the gym or if I'm running on a treadmill or something like that. So it's nice that the battery life isn't quite as affected with the Versa as it is the Apple Watch. Some of the other apps, the music app, I'm kind of bummed because you have to really connect the watch to your computer and load music on there. It's very reminiscent of an old school MP3 player where you have to plug it in, load your music on there, you're stuck with that music, which is fine, but you're stuck with that music and then you have to go through the process all over again. I like having a lot of variety, and even though with the Apple Watch I have to use Apple Music, I can access pretty much any music that I want. And if I'm on LTE, that's great when I'm maybe outside. If I'm at the gym or something like that, I typically would just connect to the Wi-Fi so that way I'm not using my data plan. So if you don't have an LTE Apple Watch, you can just connect to the Wi-Fi there and then stream. But it does only work with Apple Music, which is kind of a bummer. On here, of course, you can load over your music, or you can use Pandora, or there's Deezer, which I haven't really messed with too much. But Pandora is nice because, of course, anybody who uses Pandora, but the problem is that you have to sync over your Pandora stations, and it still has to store music on the watch. I was able to get it to play some music over Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi setup process is kind of a pain, so if you were wanting to add additional Wi-Fi locations, it's just not as easy to do as other devices. So of course, the things that I do really like about this watch is occasionally it is saying, hey, it's prompting me, hey, get an extra 50 steps, right now to reach your goal or whatnot. So if I've been sitting for a long period of time, I might get up and walk around a little bit, might decide to go outside, maybe walk, around the block or something. I mean, just things that are going to prompt me. I typically am more apt to do this at home on the weekends. If I'm being sedentary, it gets me up, maybe go play with my kids and just move around a bit. And so the reminders are really nice. Of course, you can set up stuff like that on the Apple Watch, but I don't know why, but the ones on the Apple Watch, I'm just more apt to get rid of, just to make them go away, because they're pretty much the same all the time, and they're not giving me exact goals like on the Fitbit saying, 50 something steps, 100 and something steps. Like, it's giving me some sort of a goal that I can achieve, and it doesn't seem like too much. And so you go out and do it, and then you've added to your day, which is great. The thing that I like really the most about the Fitbit Versa, and the reason that I personally would get the Fitbit Versa, is because of the heart rate monitor. Of course, the Apple Watch has a heart rate monitor, and the heart rate monitor runs quite often on the Apple Watch, but it doesn't run 24/7. So the data that you're getting with the heart rate monitor off of the Versa is better. And of course, if you're looking at your sleep data, that's even better because it's giving you that consistent information there. And even if you go and look at the sleep data that both watches have captured, you're getting better data out of the Fitbit Versa. Now, the nice thing is that you can load pretty much anything onto the Apple Watch. A lot of app support, which I found that I don't really use that often. Now, things that I do really like is calendars, text messages, phone calls, stuff like that, which of course the Versa will do. You can get call notifications, you can answer or hang up on them, which is great. But of course, if you answer the call, you're going to have your phone ready to go up to your ear, because it's not going to allow you to answer the call at least from my experiences, take the call through the Fitbit Versa itself. So you can hang up and answer calls through the Fitbit Versa. You can see your text messages. You can see your calendar reminders. But on the Apple Watch, you can actually respond to those text messages. You can answer those phone calls. And you have a little bit more that you can do with those calendar items. Now, from what I understand on the Fitbit Versa, in a future update, you are going to be able to respond to text messages on the Fitbit Versa from Android, and I'm not 100% sure on the phone calls. I'm assuming that you could probably answer phone calls on it. I just haven't done that. I typically, if I'm going to look at my watch, I'm in the middle of something and I want to cancel out that phone call, I typically don't answer phone calls too often on my Fitbit device. So we're looking at my Fitbit Versa right now. It's early in the morning, so I don't have a lot of steps, of course. It's actually almost afternoon, but I've been in my desk all day. So let's take a look at my sleep time yesterday. So you can see here, I really like the information that it gives. It tells me these different percentages, like whether I was awake in REM, light sleep, or deep sleep. Tells me exactly what time I went to bed and what time I woke up. I can look at my 30-day average, which isn't going to be too good because most of the time I've been using a standard Fitbit, which does the Fitbit Flex, which does track my sleep, but it doesn't have the heart rate information, so it's not going to be as solid of information as if I had the Versa or one of the Fitbits that does track your heart rate 24/7. So this is pretty good. Typical range. It looks like I like this, being able to see kind of the typical range. It lets me know where I'm at in comparison to other people. Looking at my sleep stages, I can kind of scroll through these. This is just good data. I mean, in comparison to what you get on the Apple Watch, and sometimes I don't even necessarily know where to go because there's several different apps that integrate with the Apple Watch and its fitness data. But I just like what Fitbit has done here. The information that I want, there's just more of it, and it's better data. I can always see my constant heart rate and kind of see where that's been. I can go back and view my heart rate where it's peaked and where it bottomed out, usually during sleep or rest. So this is pretty good. I like this information. I like being able to see this stuff. It definitely helps me better kind of get a picture of my overall, I guess, heart health as I'm moving throughout the day, which I'm not super old, but I am approaching 40, and I like to have this information available to me. So this is just good stuff. This is good stuff that you cannot get in the Apple Watch app. So let's see, if I go into the Apple Watch Health app, which does have all of this information, I'm going to go into my sleep analysis and just kind of look at that data. And as you can see for last night, about 6 hours of sleep. Let's see if I can go to, well, this is all data. Let's just look and see how deep we can get into this data here. So, it's not, there just isn't very much data. I see in bed and asleep, that's about all that I get. So I don't understand whether or not it's deep sleep or REM sleep or any of that stuff. I just know whether or not I was in bed or asleep, and it doesn't really give me anything in depth. Of course, there are other apps that I found that I can use that perhaps might give me a little bit better data. But the Apple Watch app in and of itself, this app just doesn't give you as good of data as other apps. So then here we have the kind of the heart rate max and minimums. I can go to yesterday. I didn't wear it yesterday, so I only have like today's data and last night's data through my sleep. And of course, I can go back. I mean, it's just a couple of days that I haven't worn the Apple Watch because I was wearing the Fitbit Versa more consistently. And so any gaps in here is typically where I was wearing the Versa. So, I mean, this is good information. It just seems that the Fitbit Versa kind of gives me a little bit better information. I'm going to go into, there's another app that I have. Which one is it? I think Cardiogram is one of them that I use. I guess I need to reload my data here. So Cardiogram gives me, I think, a little bit better data, so I can go in. Maybe I just like the way that it breaks down the data better than the Apple Watch. So that's an app that I typically use. a bit because it gives me a little bit more data to work with. Auto sleep is one that I use just to kind of get a better picture of my sleep. These are things that I just end up having to use because of the fact that the default app for, Apple Health just doesn't do this stuff. And then Heartwatch I use too. I don't know, I'm messing with all of these apps all the time just to kind of look and see. I've been trying to find one that's like cross-platform between Android and iPhone. I just haven't found anything good. So nonetheless, it really comes down to what you're wanting to get out of your smartwatch. If you're looking for something pure fitness that gives you the best fitness data, but still has a couple of smartwatch features, I think the Fitbit Versa is going to be the best option. And especially if you are more budget conscious, you want something that's a little bit cheaper, that gives you kind of the best of both worlds, the Fitbit Versa is definitely going to be that. If you're wanting something to make, track some fitness, but also you want productivity, you want apps, you want all of the stuff on your wrist, you want cellular connectivity, the Apple Watch is really the only thing that you're going to be able to use and get the full functionality out of on Apple's ecosystem, on the Apple Watch, phone, iPhone, iOS, phone OS, whatever they're going to be calling it. That's really the only option that you have. So if you're cross-platform like me, you're jumping back and forth between iPhone and Android, really the Fitbit is great because it's a universal across both platforms and you'll be able to get that data and keep it consistent. You just lose out on some of those kind of more technical things, some of those apps that you would be able to use on the Fitbit Versa. So who knows, maybe they're going to be investing more in the app ecosystem for the Fitbit. That would be fantastic. However, they've been at it for a few years now with their smartwatches and there hasn't really been a whole lot of movement there. So who knows what that's going to look like. So to be honest, I don't know necessarily what would be best for you. You really have to look and consider your options. I think for me, I like the Apple Watch because it does give me that complete Apple ecosystem with being able to connect to my AirPods, being able to use it with using Siri and whatnot. Even though I don't like Siri, it's better than no voice assistant at all. So I mean, there are things about the Apple Watch that I really like. Considering the fact that I already have one, I would be going with it. If I had nothing right now and was trying to make a decision, I probably would go with the Versa just because the Versa's cost is so much better and the data is actually pretty fantastic. So I hope that helped you out. Down in the description below are links to where you can see both of these devices on Amazon. Clicking on those links helps support our channel here. I'm not about selling you guys things. I'm about providing you information so that you can make the best decisions on your own. So I hope that this kind of look between the two helped you to some extent. If you have any questions or any thoughts of your own, add them in the comment section below. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel so that you can get updates, and I hope to see you back here soon. Take care.